In the last lesson, we were looking at nested if statements and saw that they can be a mess to understand logically as well as writing them correctly in the first place. So what I want to do is show you the better way to write more complex if statements, and that's using a statement called the if-else-if. Let me show you the general form of the statement before we look at an example. I'm going to come up here and create a long comment to show you the general form. So we start out like we would any other if statement with the relational expression. If that relational expression is true, then we execute the statements inside the block. If it's not true and we want to test another expression, then we write an else if followed by another relational expression. Then if that's true, a set of statements inside that. If we want another relational expression to test, then we can test yet another relational expression, and if it's true, execute a set of statements. And we can continue this just as long as we want to. And then we can close with an optional else, where this else can also execute a set of statements if all of the other relational expressions are false. This provides a very structured way of writing if statements that involve several tests. That looks pretty good like that. All right, so let's look at an example. I've already started part of the problem. We're going to go back and look at the grade problem again. This time we're going to just take a regular 90, 80, 70, 60 scale and assign a letter grade to a grade entered in that scale. So I've got a variable for my grade. I have a variable for my letter grade. Now I need a scanner object. So I'm going to create that real quick. And then we're ready to begin the program. So we'll prompt the user to enter a grade. We'll get the grade and put it into a variable. And then we'll try to classify the grade. If grade is greater than or equal to 90, letter grade equals A. Now right here we need a closing brace. Else if grade is greater than or equal to 80, letter grade is equal to B. Else if grade is greater than or equal to 70, letter grade is equal to C. Else if grade is greater than or equal to 60, letter grade is equal to a D. Now here's where we can either assume that anything other than these possible grades is an F, or we can also check for bad input by writing one more else if and say else if grade is greater than or equal to 0, letter grade equals F. Then in my else right below here I can write else system out print line, just some sort of generic error message, didn't recognize input. That's not really sufficient for a full program, but it'll work for our purposes here. And that's all we need. Oh no, we need one more prompt. System out print line, a grade of grade is a letter grade. This will tell the user what they received. All right, let's save the program. Then open up a DOS prompt and compile it. Obviously, this is Chap 8, Part 5.java. Oops, forgot to close my comment out above. That's no problem. Let's do it right here. / file save. Okay, now here's an interesting error that I'll leave in. We're going to cover this again in the string section of our lessons. Variable letter grade might not have been initialized. Because the assignment of letter grade is in the series of if statements, it's possible that if none of these is true and we get to the else part, then letter grade was declared but never assigned a value. So the way you get around that is you assign an empty string to letter grade initially, and then it's going to be replaced by one of these assignment statements inside the if-else-if. All right, let's try it one more time. Clear the screen to get rid of these errors. Here we go. Chap 8, Part 5. Enter a grade, so let's try a B. A grade of 85 is a B. Let's run it again. Let's try a 99 is an A. Let's do it one more time. Do it with a lower grade. Let's do it with a 65 is a D. Now we could test for more, but I feel pretty confident that it worked. So let's take a look at the statement again to see what we did. The if-else-if allows us to test multiple relational expressions in one chain of if statements so that we're not having separate ifs or even nested ifs inside other ifs. Because this way, once a relational expression proves true, we perform the statement block and then we exit out of the system altogether, down to here. Say we have a grade of 93. Once this test is true, we don't have to go through this test or any of the other tests. We simply perform the statement block inside the relational expression that's true, and then we jump out of the if-else-if statement altogether. And that's the proper way to perform an operation like this. Let's look at another example of the if-else-if statement. What I'm going to do is show you a table of temperatures and activities. I'll put it in the comment section up here, where we have a temperature, and then we have a recommended activity based on that temperature. So for example, when it's greater than 85, then the suggested activity is swimming. If the temperature is between 70 and 85, then the suggested activity is tennis. If the temperature is between 32 and 70, then the suggested activity is golf. If the temperature is between 0 and 31, and in fact right here we need to change golf to 69 from 70 so we don't run into some problems there, then the suggested activity is dancing. And then if it's below 0, we suggest sitting by the fire. So those are our activities. So now let's write a program that will request the temperature and then suggest the activity. So we're going to start off is we're going to create a message first that says the recommended activity is, and then we're going to add to that based on the temperature. So we need a variable for the temperature. We'll make an integer for that. Then we need a scanner object to get our input. So we'll create that. Then we need to prompt the user, enter a temperature. Then we'll get it from the user, temp equals input next int. And now we're ready to begin the if-else-if statement. So first we're going to say if temp is greater than 85, message is equal to message plus swimming. We don't need a space because we put the space in the original message string. And we're going to say else if temperature is greater than or equal to 70 because it's from 70 up through 85. Then we're going to write message is equal to message plus tennis. Then we'll write else if temp greater than or equal to 32. Message equals message plus golf. Else if temp greater than or equal to 0. Message is equal to message plus dancing. And then we can just use an else right here if it's below 0. And we'll say message is equal to message plus the recommended activity is sitting by the fire. Close it off. And then we just have to write out the message. And we should be good to go. So let's save the file. Compile it. Java C Chap 8 Part 6.java. And then run it. Let's try it with a few temperatures. Let's say it's 99. The recommended activity is swimming. Let's try 82. The recommended activity is tennis. Let's try 71. Still in that range. Try 65. Should be golf. Try it again. Try 31. Dancing. Let's do one more. Let's say it's -10. So that's how you write if-else-if statements. The key is that each else-if should be related to the other else-ifs so that you have a chain so that only one set of statements is executed if the relational expression is true. That way, if it's false, we drop down into the next test and the next test until we get to an optional else, and then we drop out of the chain. So that wraps up my instruction on if-else-ifs, and now we're going to move on and do a couple of exercises where we work a little more extensively with the if-else-if statement.